This video is brought to you by...
I'm switching lanes so much, man. They can never get behind me, man. Yeah, I'm taking it all away, man. I ain't playing with it, man. One thing is the key, man. It's consistency, man. It don't matter, man, how good the product is, man. If you ain't out there, man, to get rid of it, man, the supply to demand, man, you going down, man. You in it for nothing, man. Get with me, man. I'm starting a whole league, man. Get with me, man. Get with the winning team, man. Cool green clothing. We going all the way. And we coming straight out of Baltimore.
What's going on, YouTube fam? It's your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of the Baltimore Way, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. If you're new to the fam, welcome. Be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a video. Let's get right into the story. Life in prison. I don't think people understand how real it gets when you are standing in front of a judge and 12 jurors and the prosecution and knowing they have your life in their hands. If you are accused of a hit or other serious crimes, some cases a person might admit to what they did, take their time, and go. But it's a lot of cases left out here with questions. No evidence, nobody able to identify the person, no murder weapon, but somehow someone could still get charged and convicted. Look at it this way. Prison and the whole justice system is big business. Convictions secure bodies in prison. Bodies in prison equals money. Thousands of dollars per inmate. And we all know when big money is on the line, people get thirsty. Just know, just because a person has a title of judge, lawyer, or prosecutor, they are still regular people with problems just like you and me. That's where the saying comes in. Only God can judge, because everyone else is human with flaws and mistakes happen. Bribes take place and all that. Imagine your lawyer you paid to fight your case is eating lunch with the prosecutor and judge that's trying to send you to prison, discussing how much time you will get while you are in the cell stressing. It's that deep, and sometimes innocent people do go away for a long time. And on this episode of the Baltimore Way, we will take a look into a case involving a hit, a shooter who allegedly dressed up like a woman, and a life sentence. Baltimore, 2015. A lot was going on in the city after Freddie Gray lost his life to the hands of BPD, sending residents into an uproar, tired of the treatment by police. In the unrest, a man named Brandon Payton, who was 21 years old at the time, was coming home on bail after being charged with reckless endangerment and riding after the death of Freddie. A few days later, on June 12, 2015, BPD was called about 6 o'clock p.m. to a scene of a shooting in the 2200 block of North Fulton Avenue. A 33-year-old man was laying on the sidewalk, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. The man was taken to a local shock trauma where he unfortunately didn't make it. He was later identified as 33-year-old Stephen Bass. As the investigation started, witnesses were saying a woman shot Stephen. People stated they saw a slim young lady wearing a summer hat, a colorful blouse, light blue pants, some butters or Timberlands, and a dark colored purse, walking from Pennsylvania Avenue to Fulton right before the shooting. Investigators got surveillance video from a nearby liquor store and saw the alleged shooter on tape. Allegedly, the person was creeping up on Stephen before upping the blick and chasing him, before letting off 4 shots, hitting the man in the back and fleeing the scene. But the crazy thing was, there wasn't no evidence on the scene, no shell casings, and no one could identify the woman. A man would tell BPD while the shooter was running, they touched the front passenger hood of his car. Police will remove prints from the man's vehicle. After running the prints in the Maryland database, police alleged they had a hit and came to the conclusion it wasn't a female shooter at all, but a man dressed like a woman. Brandon Payton. The day of the shooting, when police searched the scene and nearby alley, they found no article of clothes, shell casings, nothing. So the only evidence they had that was assuming Brandon did it was the fingerprints allegedly matched Brandon's. A warrant was put out for his arrest on July 15th, 2015, and he was picked up and charged with first-degree murder and using a firearm in the commission of a felony. Brandon never admitted or acknowledged he knew anything about the hit on Steven, but the partial fingerprints was enough to make the case stick. The case would make it to trial in September 2016. The state argument seemed weak, with only a few witnesses who stated what happened to Steven, but no one could prove the shooter was Brandon or even put him at the scene. The state's key witness was the person from the Baltimore City's latent fingerprint unit. They put them on the stand, and they stated they allegedly examined 3 fingerprint lift cards taken from the witness whip the day of the shooting and matched it to Brandon, in which the person stated they ran the prints and it matched prints linked to a SID number or state identification number in the database. Also, the person stated they personally fingerprinted Brandon in August 2016, and it was a match. The state rested his case off that, leaving the courtroom and the jury confused. As on a crowded Baltimore street, anybody could have touched the car or linked on it to make them fingerprints. Also, there was a lot of back and forth about an unknown print that was found on the car that didn't match Brandon. The jury couldn't come to a decision, and Brandon's lawyer pressed for a dismissal. This is where things get interesting. Once a case is argued by both sides and the evidence is not enough to secure a conviction, a motion for dismissal is usually put in. It's supposed to be either a yes or no, dismiss or grant the motion. But even though the judge was frustrated with the state's lack of evidence and not being able to prove his case, the judge argued if it was a simple drug case, he would throw it out. But since it was an execution-style hit, he gave the state time to get their story straight, get the fingerprints evidence together, and make it all make sense. In which Brandon lawyers objected, stating that wasn't how that worked. The state had time, failed to prove guilt, meaning he was innocent. But the judge ignored their statements. 2 days later, the fingerprints person came back, took the stand again, this time with a report making more sense. And the judge let the state finish by letting all their witnesses speak. A brief cross-examination was done by Brandon's lawyers before the jury came back on December 5th, 2016 with a verdict. Guilty on first-degree murder, and Brandon was sentenced to life plus 20 years in prison. Immediately, they put in for appeal. Eventually, 2 years later, in 2018, the case was presented to a high court in Maryland, where they argued the judge in the case overstepped his grounds and abused his title by reopening an already closed case that was supposed to end in acquittal, and gave the state time to fix its lack of evidence, ending in them convincing the jury, who at first wasn't buying the whole fingerprint theory, stating the judge acted like a prosecutor. A vote for Brandon to receive a new trial was voted on, and it was approved, stating all the abuse of power was enough to question the guilty verdict. As of now, I haven't found any information on a date or if Brandon's case made it back to court yet, as things like this usually take time. Now, let me just say this. At the end of the day, somebody did lose their life. I send my deepest prayers and condolences to Steven's family, as a life was lost in the situation. May he rest in peace. I don't know what happened, but it's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And they found Brandon innocent at first. I'm going to let y'all tell me in the comments what y'all think about this. Do y'all think this was a fair trial or justice? Let me know, fam. Man, this is a crazy story. Like I said, rest in peace to Steven. At the end of the day, that man lost his life. You feel me? They trying to say it just wasn't no evidence on the young man. And one thing about it, when you get convicted, mostly they like, all right, whatever, you got convicted. A jury of your peers found you guilty, and they usually ride with that. But in this situation, it's like the jury couldn't come to a conclusion, which was grounds for a mistrial, once his lawyers hit the judge and was like, look, They trying to say they can't come to a conclusion. All they got is these fingerprints. Man, look, dismiss this case. The judge in the case was like, nah, I'm going to leave the case open and let the state come with more evidence, giving them time to fix the problem and convince the jury that Brandon did it, and he got sentenced to life in prison. So, yeah, man, I don't know. This is a crazy situation, you feel me? But I'm going to leave it to y'all. Let me know what y'all think about this one in the comments. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. It's your boy Tony 2 times. It's another episode of the Baltimore Way. Love y'all, fam. I'm out.